Hey, what's up guys? So today we're going to be showing off the new Gears of Dreadlands Demon Hunter. This is the newer build with the buffs, giving it basically a Whirlwind build for Demon Hunter. So what it comes down to is with the two-piece bonus, you're going to be gaining 4 seconds of momentum when attacking with a primary skill and a maximum duration of 20 seconds. This essentially is doubling the duration of the set bonus, and it actually plays more like a Whirlwind Demon Hunter build because you're able to maintain it up a lot longer. And as long as you have some attack speed, you won't really notice it too much in terms of being not whirlwinding, because it's just for like a brief short duration where you have to reactivate a primary skill. With a 4-piece bonus, via the patch notes on the PTR, a lot of people were thinking that you would be able to infinitely strafe. Even though they said you could strafe forever, that's not actually the case. You still have to manually build up the stacks of momentum, but now they made it so with the stacks of momentum, it doesn't have to connect on a target, which is actually a really big deal because now you can go ahead and ramp up all of your stacks before you even go ahead and fight anything. Also, with the new seasonal buff, they also made it so there is a change with the buff. It will proc over here. You'll see a little fist, and it's an indication of it being every 2 minutes. And they also buffed it by making it every 90 seconds. There's supposed to be a little buff over here, but it'll apply once we go ahead and go into the Greater Rift. But you're able to go ahead and maintain it much more often. So we'll go ahead and do this Fortress Ballista build because this is a newer build that has emerged over on the leaderboards. Technically, the Echoing Fury build is still #1, but it's within what I would consider a margin of error of being one of the best builds. Because now with Squirt's Necklace, we're going to output a lot more DPS. This is kind of a speed build, but let's go ahead and show off what the new Demon Hunter can do with the newly Whirlwind edition here. So let's go ahead and do a level 75 T16 so you guys can get an idea on how fast this build can be. So once again, we're going to go ahead and ramp up our stacks, and the Trial of Tempest you guys can see over here is now in effect. So go ahead and just activate everything. Make sure the stacks are going to be at pretty much 16 at all times for a minimum number. Once we see it dip down to 16, we'll go ahead and activate our primary again, as the new buffs, even though, again, I know on the patch notes they said you can strafe forever, you still have to manually cast Hungering Arrow, and we're using the smoke screen for actual mobility. It's not for survivability. We'll skip out on the channeling pylon because this way you guys can see the build without, I guess, touching those. Even though we are running Flavor of Time over here with this build, it still makes it a little bit faster than what I would consider a normal run. So we won't touch any of the pylons for the sake of being fair. But it's a very fast build. Sometimes there's a little pylon in these little rooms. But fairly easy to play, and you can see it plays very similar to a Whirlwind. And I'm enjoying this build a lot more now. I think the quality of life went up a lot for this build. More than anything. We'll go ahead and pick up all the orbs. And what I like with this build, as opposed to the Barb build, is you're able to kill things from super, super far away. And you can kind of sit in the explosions if you want to activate your smoke screen, which is quite nice. But you're doing rifts in pretty much 2 minutes, I'd say, is on average, unless you get really unlucky. But if you do pick up the pylons and you get like a speed pylon like this one over here, you can clear them out even faster, obviously. But yeah, we'll go ahead and clear this one out real fast. Pretty much once it's at like 16 for the stacks is when I'm trying to reactivate my Hungering Arrow. Or if I just look at that Focus and Restraint buff, since that's on like a 5 second, it's pretty much the same anyways. Go ahead and destroy the Guardian. And there we go. I'd say that's a very like average run. Again, we're not picking up the pylons. And this is with very subpar gear in terms of the gem levels go. But we'll go ahead and just level up the Taeguk over here. And I'll go ahead and show you guys the ins and outs of this build. Very easy to play, I would say. I know a lot of people wanted it to be an infinite build, and I'll go ahead and also address some of the theory of crafting that a lot of people were thinking about, and also mention some of the other changes, but I just want to give you guys the gameplay first. So, first off, in terms of the primary skill being activated, before it would mess up your stacks when you would swap to another skill. This would be with Entangling Shot, because Entangling Shot can also be another multiplier that you could add. However, with it previously, it would reset the stack. So if you have 2, let's go ahead and throw on 2 primary skills over here. If I was to go ahead and do it, let's say Entangling Shot, most people would run this one over here. You can see that the stacks, they will still work with each other. Previously, you'd have to reset the stacks, and that's nice quality of life change over here. However, we're doing Smokescreen just for mobility purposes with this build. I mean, it technically does add some survivability, and I'm going to go to show you guys that this build is still capable of doing over 120, which is what this guy is running over here with his build. The difference is that I'm running Dawn equipped, and then I'm putting this in the cube because I didn't happen to get a very high number on the secondary roll. But it's the exact same build that he's running, and I will explain the passives over here because one passive is different from my build because I think it's a little bit faster, and I'll go ahead and get into it. So as far as the build goes, it's pretty much the exact same build as most Diablo builds, which is crit hit chance, crit hit damage, and cooldown reduction. I'll mouse over the pieces of gear that I currently have, but again, you don't have to get the exact same things. As far as the gems go, I feel like there is a little bit of play. Bane of the Trapped and the Bane of the Stricken can be viable here. I'm just running this because it's the one that happened to level up. But you definitely want Simplicity, Strength, and Taeguk. I think these are great additions. And then one of these can also be great. There was a build originally instead of Fortress Ballista, and I want to mention this, is using the Wildebeest Gizzard to actually grant the shield. The reason why the shield is important is because with the Squirt's Necklace, when you take damage via shield damage, it doesn't count and doesn't reduce the damage that you will actually deal, because you get to deal up to 100% bonus damage. So that was another build, so I'll go ahead and mention it. But pretty much, for the most part, everyone's running Echoing Fury at the top of the leaderboard. But again, if we look at the difference of 5 GRs, it could be within margin of error, and of course your luck with, of course, Flavor of Time that can factor in. And you can also definitely run your Convention of Elements. It's just, if you want the max RNG, Flavor of Time is definitely going to be the best option. As far as this goes, it's pretty much the exact same thing. Again, you can run both of the weapons and the 9th series satchel over here. Either one, again, this one I just happened to didn't roll very good, so I decided to go ahead and cube it and equip both of these. When you do happen to have weapons, though, you can get technically more CDR, cooldown reduction, and on top of that, you get way more crit hit damage with that as well. But that was just something I wanted to go ahead and mention. Again, I'll mouse over all the pieces of gear in case any of you guys do want to go ahead and try to copy the build from this video. Again, I don't have the best rolls. I mean, heck, there's regenerating life on those. Crit damage is overall going to be much better. As far as our skills go, it's the same exact for the most part, minus we're running Preparation Focused Mind over here, which is going to go ahead and give us Discipline so we can spam our Smokescreen Displacement, because this build is very fast, and I would say if you're looking for speed builds, bounties, this is going to be an excellent build for you. So these are the only things that would be different than, I would say, the other previous builds, but there's lots of builds using these on the leaderboards for survivability, but we're pretty much just using it for mobility in like Torment 16, essentially. Pretty much this has been the same. You got to run Drifting Shadow because it's much faster. We're running the Cold one over here. And then that way we can go ahead and proc some of the extra bonus damage with like Cold of the Week. Then we also are running Ambush, Steady Aim, and the last one, a lot of people are running, you can run a Cheat Death over here instead of whatever one that you decide to go ahead and go for. This last one over here, I personally really like Blood Vengeance. The reason why I like it over Night Stalker, this one is also technically on the leaderboards as well. The reason why is because it lets you strafe infinitely for the most part. But again, the problem is when you strafe, you are not getting those stacks of momentum. So it does not give you that. Again, it's mentioned on the patch notes, and I really think that they should rephrase the wording of it, because a lot of people think that you can still just strafe forever and not have to cast the primary skill in order to gain these stacks. If that was the case, then yeah, it would be 100% uptime, which in that case it would make sense, but it is not the case. But this would facilitate you being able to strafe a lot longer. The reason why I like Blood Vengeance is because it's kind of like a Reaper's Wraps, where it's going to go ahead and give you the ability to gain some type of resource, but it also gains Discipline, and Discipline lets us spam our Smokescreen a lot faster, so we can basically spam it and not only survive longer, but also gain that 100% extra movement speed. So that's how we have very, very fast clear times. But as far as the passives go, that is primarily what people are using. again, Night Stalker or Blood Vengeance. Personally, the one that's the highest rank right now on the leaderboard is running Night Stalker, but I think Blood Vengeance is also a great option as well. I also have seen some people use Leech because if you want to sustain, however, you're already running into taking damage, so that makes the Scorch Necklace less viable. In this case, you would run Flavor of Time and Convention of Elements. But with Simplicity Strength, once you go ahead and hit with your primary abilities, it will heal you. Now, this has been changed as well with the new changes on the PTR, because they changed it so it actually does work when you go ahead and strafe, because previously a lot of the runes and interactions just weren't working properly. I also think that the Goak of Swiftness can be a good option, and as well as the one that's going to give you stacks of attack speed, which would be this one over here, the Pain Enhancer. Because when you're attacking faster, you're going to be able to proc your arrows faster, because, well, it's not going to shoot Hungering Arrow unless there's a target, but it will activate much faster, is what I'm saying. So that might be something we can also look into as far as theory crafting for this, but I'm pretty sure at this point we'll have to go ahead and check via leaderboards and maybe a couple more days, because a lot of people are trying out more interesting things, and I wanted to go ahead and give you guys a newer build for, again, Fortress Ballista. But pretty much those are the ideas for theory crafting as far as making this build a little bit better. I will also try, I will have to obviously level this up to a very, very high level so we get enough shield to make it viable, but I want to go ahead and try out the build without Fortress Ballista and then running Echoing Fury, and obviously we'd be equipping this, and then this would be inside of the cube, and then we'd have this for shield, and then we could attack much faster to reach a certain breakpoint again where we'd be able to get these arrows out much faster. But I'll give you guys that info on it. But anyways, as far as my thoughts on the new buffed Demon Hunter, I think it's absolutely great. It makes the build, again, feel more like a Whirlwind build, which is, I think, what a lot of people wanted. But I think a lot of people also want it so you don't ever have to cast Hungering Arrow. If that's the case, well, then you just not run Focus and Restraint, because at that point, like, why even bother, right? But it might be another option that they can consider. But you guys can let me know what you think of it. For me, once you have, again, enough attack speed, we're talking over 2, which is very easy to go ahead and obtain, you won't really notice, and plus you also have this, which makes your primary skills attack even faster, which probably won't even register on the sheet anyways. You're going to be in a situation where you will be whirlwinding enough to the point where it's fun enough. Before, you would really have to cast it so often, and to the point where I just felt like it wasn't as fun. So overall, nice changes. As far as the seasonal buffs go, it is much better now. And right now, it is a little bit bugged. It is still proccing area damage, and they mentioned that they will go ahead and change that. So a lot of these numbers via the leaderboards will definitely change, but I already covered this build, which is currently number 1, and there's a few other builds, but this is the highest one right now, and it's within margin of error in terms of the Greater Rift pushings. But that is the new Demon Hunter build and my thoughts on it. You guys can let me know yours down below. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. If you're new here, you want to keep up to date with Diablo as well as other action RPGs, like Torchlight Frontiers should be coming out pretty soon, and we'll be covering that as well. Or I should say Torchlight 3, because Frontiers got its name changed. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good one. And I'm signing out. Peace.